How's it going, boys? We're back at it again, and today we're going to be making a very special video. This one, I find that it's going to help a tremendous amount of people, especially new and returning players, or anybody that just want to tip their toes into PvP or getting into, you know, that combat, high-speed combat. This video is going to be about the combo, like the basic combo, or like the bread and butter combo for every single one of the weapons. All right, I don't want to make this any longer, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna go down every single one of the one-handed weapons, then two-handed, then range, and then magical. And there is going to be some weapons that I call these weapons enablers. And what these weapons are, it's like weapons like sword and shield, flail, warhammer, rapier, weapons that have like a CC, right? That whenever you do that CC, then you rotate into another weapon to do the combo, right? That is not necessarily the combo of the individual weapon, but since it's a combo that you can do with some particular weapons, I will include it as well. All right, the first one we're gonna start with is going to be the sword and shield, and the basic combo for sword and shield is gonna go something like this. It's always gonna be leaping strike into a heavy attack, so you get that 30% in power, into a shield rush. Then after the shield rush, honestly, you can play with whatever you want, with either upheaval, whirling blades, or shield bash. Most of the people are playing now with upheaval because it's just a great ability. It has a lot of damage. It has crit. It is just a superb ability. The people that use the artifact sword, they use whirling blade. And well, there's people that want to, what is going on here? And the people that want to use shield bash because maybe they're utilizing another weapon like spear, flail, or like another weapon that they want to do a combo with. Now, the reason why we're starting with leaping strike is because most of the people that play with sword and shield, you're going to have empower and leaping strike either on the sword or on the gear, right? Because whenever you hit an enemy with leaping strike, you're going to be doing 33% more damage to them as long as they are slowed by your leaping strike, cowardly punishment over here. So you get that 33% increased damage from here, 30% increased damage from here. Then you're going to hit them with a shield rush into the X ability. So it's going to go something like this. Leaping strike into a heavy attack, shield rush, shield bash. And then if you were to have upheaval, you would do leaping strike, heavy attack, shield rush, upheaval. If you're using whirling blade, leaping strike, heavy attack, shield rush, whirling blade. And if you're using shield bash, well, then as you guys saw, it will be a leaping strike into a heavy attack, shield rush, shield bash, right? Now, as for the heavy attack, for you to get the full empowerment, you don't have to do a fully charged heavy attack like this, right? You can do a half heavy, so that it will look something like this, right? That is much, much quicker, and it will still give you the same empowerment. Now, the reason that I recommend that you do the full heavy is in case that they do a roll as soon as they hit them, as soon as you hit them with the leaping strike, or maybe they start to block the moment that you hit them with a leaping strike. So then you want to break the armor. Give me a second. Let me just say hi to these boys, and then we continue on the video. All right. So if you are utilizing another weapon because you're using the sword and shield, it will look something like this. Let's go ahead and pull a spear, for example. So we're going to put a spear over here. If you're utilizing this combo, this is probably because you want to go for a spear combo or a warhammer or a flail or whatever other weapon you're utilizing. It will be something like this. You will do the leaping strike into a heavy attack, shield rush, shield bash. Then you go behind them, you hit them with a leg sweep, coup de grace, if that is your combo spear, right? If that is your spear combo. Maybe you can do a shield bash and then go behind them and hit them with a leg sweep, basic attack, cyclone. If you didn't go for coup de grace, if you have the flail, then you can go after the shield bash. You go behind them, you hit them with a trip, a basic attack, arcane eruption, etc, 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 right? I'm gonna go over all of the weapons like I said, but weapons like sword and shield, warhammer, and rapier, this is what I consider enabler weapons, because these are weapons that have ACC that is long enough that it allows you to swap to another weapon to do the combo. So anyways, that is the basic bread and butter combo for the sword and shield. The next weapon we're going to be doing the combo with is going to be the flail. Now, the flail on itself, it doesn't have that many combos like the sword and shield, but the bread and butter combo, especially if you are an assassin or a main DPS with a flail, is going to be trip followed by a basic attack, arcane eruption. If you win with the ability of Smite first, it is ideal for you to utilize Smite first, because Smite will apply a weaken on the enemy. And if the enemy is weakened and you hit him with a trip, then you're going to apply a 15% rend. But if you're not playing with Smite, then don't worry about it. It's okay. You know, it's not that big of a deal. But the combo for the Flail, once again, is going to go something like this. Trip, basic attack, arcane eruption, okay? So hit a trip, basic attack, arcane eruption. So that basic attack is very, very important, because it allows you to, you know, you basically weave like 1,000, 2,000 damage on the spot. And if you're using perks like alternating enchantment, that whenever you hit an enemy with an ability, your next basic attack is empowered by 10%, and vice versa. Whenever you hit an enemy with a basic attack, your next ability is empowered by 10%. So that means that the trip is going to empower my basic attack by 10%, and then that basic attack is going to empower arcane eruption by 10%. Once again, it's gonna be like trip, basic attack, arcane eruption. Now that basic attack, the moment that you see it swinging, you press arcane eruption immediately. Don't let the animation of the light attack go all the way through, because then the enemy might be able to get up before the trip is over. If you're using the vortex like myself, then a full combo will be something like this: basic attack, trip, basic attack, arcane eruption. And as the enemy is getting up, right, you're going to do a basic attack into a mending vortex on top of them. And you can do it the other way as well. All right, you can do a basic attack into mending vortex, basic attack sweep, basic attack arcane eruption. It will be something like this. You want to do a basic attack into vortex, basic attack into trip, basic attack into arcane eruption. And that one right there will be your basic combos for the Flail. Either you start with vortex because the enemy is on top of you and you want to get that empowerment, and that's his invulnerability. But if the enemy is trying to run away from you, like an archer or something like that, you don't really want to start with vortex, because vortex is quite slow and it doesn't have a lot of tracking to catch up to the enemy. So in most scenarios, if you're like catching up an enemy, you will start with trip. If you are fighting people around you, then you can do a vortex. The next one that we're going to be covering is going to be the Rapier. And the Rapier is going to have two combos, right? If you're going to be playing with these abilities right here, Tondo, Evade, and Flourish and Finish, the combo will go something like this. You will do Tondo, Animation, Cancel, Flourish, and Finish, right? That is going to be the bread and butter combo right there. There is no situation really where you should be stacking more than one Tondo, unless you're fighting against somebody that is not very experienced in the game. You know, and then you can stack, or maybe whenever you did the first Tondo Evade, then they avoided the Flourish and Finish, you know what and then maybe you can stack. Plus the cooldown on Tondo is relatively low. The thing about why we need Evade is because the animation on Tondo is quite long. Look, you see that? And now we can move. So I'm gonna try to move after I use Tondo. You see how long it takes. So by the time you're done with the Tondo animation, the enemy is able to either roll away or run, simply because Tondo doesn't, well, stack it or anything like that. So that is exactly what you need Evade. And not only do you need Evade to animation cancel, but if you have the omnidirectional Evade perk, it also increases the damage that you do by a significant amount. So once again, the combo will go something like this. It will be Tondo, animation cancel with Evade, Flourish, and Finish for a very substantial amount of damage. And as you can see, look how low a cooldown these abilities are, right? So you can do that combo very, very, very often. And if you're using the Rapier with the repose, the combo will go something like this. You're going to activate the repose, and if the enemy does get hit by the repose, then you're going to go behind them and hit him with like a heavy attack, evade, basic attack. It will be something like this. Repose, he hits the repose, you go behind him, heavy attack, evade, basic attack, right? And then the enemy will probably going to roll forward, and then you follow that up with a flash, and you hit him. All right, so once again, it will go something like this. You use a repose, you hit him with a repose, you go behind them, heavy attack into evade, light attack, and then you do the flash to go through them. If you're utilizing flash, if you're not utilizing flash, then you can do a heavy attack into an evade, basic attack, you know, flourish and finish. And that is pretty much the two combos that you will have for the Rapier. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Hatchet. If you are using all three throwing abilities on the Hatchet, the best possible DPS combo, it will be something like this. Social distancing into a rendering throw, poopy throw, right? That is for maximum damage right there. Why do you want to do it like that? Well, because social distancing is going to apply a debuff to the enemy. It's going to root him in place. And then rendering throw is going to rend the enemy so you do more damage to them. And on top of that, what they said, if rendering throw hits a target with an active debuff, it deals an additional 20% damage. And if rendering throw hits a target with an active debuff, the cooldown is reduced by 20%, which social distancing will put a debuff to it. And then poopy throw, this one is the one that deals a amazing massive amounts of damage. So then you use this one last to get the best out of it. So once again, it will be something like this: social D into rendering throw, poopy throw for the maximum damage combo. Now the thing is, that will only work realistically if the enemy has no stamina or if the enemy is not looking at you. Now, why do I bring this up? The reason why I bring this up is if you want to go for the most reliable combo when it comes to PvP, it will be social distancing into poopy throw, rendering throw. Why am I asking for you to use poopy throw before rendering throw? The reason behind it is because poopy throw has a way more value than rendering throw, right? Poopy throw does not only hit incredibly hard, but it's going to put that disease, that weaken on the enemy. It's going to apply that exhaust if you have the perk on it. And it's just such a strong ability if you actually direct hit with it, right? If you don't direct hit with it, then you know the cloud, it will still create that disease weaken, but you won't apply the exhaust. And the exhaust on the hatchet, it is incredible. And on top of that, again, the damage that this thing deal, it is absurd. So if the enemy doesn't have stamina, then you're gonna hit him with the social D, rendering throw, poopy throw, of course. If the enemy is aware, then you want to use your social distancing first, and then you poopy throw. When you're using poopy throw, try not to aim it at center mass. Try to aim it to like the bottom section of the body, in case that if they dodge it, the cloud still hits the floor, and then they get the debuff from the cloud, just like poison arrow. As long as that cloud was in their area, they're going to get the debuff from it, even if you hit it or not. And that does it for the throwing hatchet. If you want to do it on, if you want to do the combo for the hatchet as a melee weapon, then let's go ahead and pick this weapon, do this weapon abilities right here, which will be Berserk, Raging Torrent. There's really nowhere or any time that you should be using Feral Rush. It's not that good on an ability, right? Obviously, social distancing is a staple ability of whenever you're playing with a hatchet. And let's say that you hit the enemy with a social distancing, and now you're closing in the gap. Obviously, you're gonna pop Berserk before you start, fighting, because not only gives you that invulnerability, but it gives you a bunch of damage increase. And on top of that, it gives you movement and speed. So what you want to do with a hatchet is, before you start the combo, most of the time you want to do a heavy attack. This is not necessary, but this will help you do more damage, right? Because that heavy attack will give you 15% more damage to the next 4 hit that you do. You don't need to get the final blow on the hatchet. Some people like it, some people don't. It's 100% up to you. If you feel like you enjoy it, then go for it. So it will go something like this. You hit the enemy with that, then you come close, you do that heavy attack into a Raging Torrent for that maximum amounts of damage, right? And then you can follow that up and continue to do damage as well. Another way that you can use the social distancing, you need to use it whenever you are running away from the enemy, or whenever you're going to throw all of your 3-po hatchet abilities. You can also do like a basic attack, and hit them with a social distancing from close range, and just to root them, so you can hit them with a full-on Raging Torrent without them being able to move. Makes sense, because the good thing about social distancing is that it's an animation cancel. So if you're doing like light attack, you can use it at any given time. If you are pressing forward, it will not push you back. If you're not pressing forward, it will push you back. So just have that in mind. Once again, for the melee, it will just go like Berserk, heavy attack into a Raging Torrent, just like that. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the two-handed weapons. On the spear, honestly, you can go with a variety of abilities. There is 2 combos with the spear. One combo is the leg sweep with Cyclone, right? Which, if you want to do that one, then you wouldn't pick Coup de Grace, because the thing is that if you pick this last point over here, then whenever you do leg sweep and you want to do a basic attack, you will follow it up with a heavy attack instead of a light attack into Cyclone. But the bread and butter combo for spear, regardless of whichever abilities you are playing with, is going to be a synergy of basic attack abilities and roll. So if we look at this perk right here, it says the first successful hit with an ability within 2 seconds of dodging, it will reduce all of your cooldown speed, all of the spear cooldowns by 20%. You also have this one right here that it says all of the spear cooldowns are reduced by 10% on the second hit of the light attack of the chain. Now, there's gonna be times where this is going to be helpful, especially if you did not hit with the ability and now you didn't reduce the cooldown of your ability, so you can follow that up with a couple of basic attacks to get the cooldowns back. But the bread and butter combination for the spear, it will be something like ability, dodge, basic attack, ability, dodge, basic attack, ability, dodge, basic attack. And the reason why I'm saying for you to always sweep or like weave a basic attack in between is because basic attack like redirects you, it tracks the enemy, right? So you don't do like an ability, and then if you try to do another ability, you're either gonna send it forward or the enemy is just gonna roll away. So that light attack helps you keep track on the enemy, stay on the enemy, and on top of that, if you do connect that light attack, then you're gonna slow them down, allowing your abilities to connect much easier. So again, it will be something like this: roll basic attack ability, roll basic attack ability, right? Roll basic attack ability, roll basic attack ability, right? Roll basic attack ability. Now you don't have to do the basic attack. If you see that the enemy is already out of stamina and they're gonna eat the full combo, then you know, just hit them with a roll ability, right? Roll into an ability, roll into an ability, roll into an ability, because the spear has that luxury like no other weapon, where you can spam abilities infinitely regardless of what abilities you're playing with, as long as you do a roll before an ability. That is superb. That is amazing. The spear is the only weapon in the entire game that can do that. So always make sure to do a roll before an ability, please. Then the next weapon that we're going to be talking about is going to be Great Axe. Great Axe doesn't have that many combos that, you know, that the abilities on its own do, but it does have a couple of animation cancels that I should, you know, I should bring up. And one of them is Charge. Charge is an insane ability. If you want to, you know, do the most damage, it's not only escaping ability, because the good thing about Charge is that it is an animation cancel as well. So if somebody is quite low health in front of you, or regardless, and you just want to hit them with a quick combo section that does a lot of damage, you will do like a light attack burst, yeah, like a light attack charge, right? And again, you can do that charge at any time. Now, the best way that I recommend for you to do that charge, you can do the light attack charge, again, if you think that the enemy is going to run away, or if the enemy is about to die, or if the enemy is, you know, like in those moments. But the best way for you, for me, right, to do this combo is do 2 light attacks, because the recovery time from the first light attack to the second light attack, it is very fast. Now, the recovery time from the second light attack to go back into the first light attack is quite long. Look at this, like 1 attack, 2 attack, and then look at that wait time. Did you see that big gap between the second attack going back into the first attack? Like, look, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So the moment that you do the 2 is when you do the ability. So you do 1, 2, charge. You see that? And then the 1 is ready to go again for another 1, 2, right? And that will maximize your damage tremendously. And the same thing applies for Reap, right? You're gonna do 1, 2, Reap, right? Always. You can do it with 1 Reap, but if you are able to do or to stick on the enemy, do the 1, 2 Reap, 1, 2 charge. If the enemy's about to die, you can do the 1 charge, 1 Reap. You know what I mean? Because that it will be like a massive amounts of burst. And coming, you know, talking about the light attacks, you can do 1, 2 into a spin to win right here. Now, the spin to win ability, you can animation cancel that ability literally with everything in the game. You can animation cancel it with a light attack. You can animation cancel it with a roll. You can even animation cancel it with a weapon swap, allowing you to be spinning on top of the enemy, weapon swap, mid animation, and hit them with a trip. And this is how I do my Great Axe and Flail combo. It will go something like this. So I'm spinning on the enemy, spinning. They spend all of their stamina, right? And then I go, boom, triple, basic attack, arcane eruption. Remember the combo for the Flail? And that is amazing. Great Axe having the ability for you to animation cancel, you know, their basic attacks and the whirlwind ability with literally everything. It is very versatile, and if you do those things, it will increase your damage tremendously. Another thing that you can do with a great axe is you don't have to pick the last point onto reap. So you can do a reap into like a shrapnel blast, or like a reap into a flail trip, right? You can do that reap and follow that up with a lot of other things. But the second swing, it does deal a significant amount of damage. Unless you are doing the great axe and combining it with another weapon where you specifically need that only first swing of the reap, then go for it. The basic attack combo goes the same thing for Maelstrom, right? You can do 1-2 into a Maelstrom, 1-2 into an execute. And as for Gravity Well, the same thing. You can do 1-2 into a Gravity Well, right? And then whenever you use the Gravity Well, you can jump in there with whatever weapon you're using. If it is a Warhammer, then you do like a Shockwave, or you can go in there with a Great Axe and do a Maelstrom, or you can do the Gravity Well and go in there spinning with a Whirlwind, right? And or you can throw the Gravity Well, and as they're trying to run away, you pull them back in with a Reap, etc, etc. Gravity Well is just a big AoE slow and root that you can follow that up pretty much with whatever you want. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Warhammer. Now with the Warhammer, you have a bunch of combos. Why? Because the Warhammer has both a stun and it has a knockdown with Wrecking Ball over here. So honestly, the combos are pretty much infinite with the Warhammer, right? The one combo that I recommend, for a beginner especially, is to use Shockwave into a Cleared Out into an Armor Breaker. That combo right there is always going to be a combo that is going to be doing massive amounts of damage. The Shockwave is going to stun the enemy, it's going to weaken the enemy, and if you have the perk, it's going to rank the enemy. Cleared Out deals a significant amounts of damage, and it also going to rank the enemy if you have the perk. And then Armor Breaker, this thing just deal a massive amounts of damage, and that is going to be basically your bread and butter combo for like a beginner, which it will be something like this. You're gonna hit him with a Shockwave into a Cleared Out into an Armor Breaker, right? That is the bread and butter combo, right there for the Warhammer. But you can do other combos, right? You can do the Shockwave into a Wrecking Ball Armor Breaker, or Shockwave into a Cleared Out Mighty Gavel. The one thing that I will want to highlight about the Warhammer, it's not even a combo, is actually the half heavy attacks that I mentioned earlier with the Sword and Shield. Remember, if you hover over the Warhammer right here, it has light attack, heavy attacks, and charge heavy attacks, right? The charge heavy attack is the fully wind up heavy attack, which will be this one right here, right? That one will be the heavy attack, the charge heavy attack, and this is the heavy attack. So you see, it is much faster. It's like twice the animation with more tracking than the full heavy attack. The full heavy attack is not only slower, but it also has less tracking. So if you want to stick to the enemy, you do the half heavy attack all the time, followed by a light attack. Half heavy, right? You do the half heavies or in a light attack. If the enemy keeps running, you do a half heavy into a half heavy into a half heavy. This thing is amazing. It deals massive amounts of damage. It has crazy tracking, and it's 9 out of 10 times better to use the half heavy in pretty much every situation, unless the enemy is like fully out of stamina and you want to hit them with that big chunker heavy attack, or if you hit them with a stun, right, then you want to be that big chunker heavy attack, right? And that does it for the Warhammer. Now let's go ahead and jump into the Great Sword. Now the Great Sword doesn't really have like a combo that you can do. 9 out of 10 people use the same exact combo, which it will be something like a Relentless Rush and then start spamming heavy attack, right? Or they would do like a Steadfast Strike and then start spamming heavy attack with a shield in front of them, right? That is what the majority of the players do. Is it wrong? Absolutely not. It's not wrong. That's pretty much how the Great Sword is played. But there's a couple of tips here and there that I will actually recommend that you start doing. And some of those are weaving more light attacks into the Great Sword, right? So 9 out of 10 times at the moment that you do a Relentless Rush, the enemy is expecting you to do a heavy attack, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can do the heavy attack. But what about if you do a light attack? And what about even better? What if whenever you do the Relentless Rush, you do a heavy attack, and then after that, the enemy is going to expect what? Another heavy attack. So what do? You send a light attack. So it will look something like this. You're going to do a heavy attack into a light attack, right? Because the enemy is probably going to be expecting that heavy attack to come right after the next heavy attack. So you can do a heavy attack into a light attack. Or you can do what I was telling you earlier. You can do a relentless rush into a light attack followed by a heavy attack. Try to implement more light attacks into the greatsword combo. You're going to feel it that your outcome in DPS and just successful overall with the greatsword is going to skyrocket. Please try to weave more light attack. That is the one thing that a lot of people do not do with a greatsword. You can do the slash upwards and then follow that up with a skyward with a triple slashes or whatever you want to do. You know, you can animation cancel that skyward slash. The enemy got staggered. You can do a skyward slash and then do maybe like a steadfast. Oh, and also another thing, since we're talking about crossguard, a thing that a lot of people don't do is that they don't do a light attack before crossguard. They just do heavy attack or heavy attack, so they do ability and then do a crossguard. One thing that a lot of people don't do is they do something like this. You go forward, light attack into a crossguard, right? That light attack animation got, you know, the swing because 1 and 2, right? That 2 got pretty much canceled, and you can do that a lot with the greatsword. You can do a 1 into an ability, right? And that is very helpful. Weaving light attacks with the greatsword is a tremendous. 1 and then 1, 2 and 3, right? Like, you don't even have to do the last hit on the crossguard, by the way. You can just do 1 light attack, then 1, 2, and then just follow that up with another light attack, and like maybe the skyward slash, which it will look something like this. I will show you right now. You do a light attack, 1, 2, roll skywards, boom, right? Which is a lot of damage if you animation cancel some of these abilities just to follow it up with something else. And I mean, that's pretty much for the greatsword. Like I said, the greatsword doesn't have that many combos. It's pretty much just animation canceling stuff. The next weapon that we're going to be talking about is going to be the bow. Now, when it comes to the bow, there's really only one combo, and that is if you're playing with a dot build. If you're playing with a dot build and you're playing with Empower and Explosive Arrow, which empower your damage, right, your next hit, whenever you hit an enemy with an Explosive Arrow. So the rotation for that will look something like this. Now, remember that Empower and Explosive Arrow empowers your damage until you hit the enemy the next time. Meaning that if you hit the enemy with Explosive Arrow and you use Poison Arrow next to them, that Poison Arrow will be empowered by your Empower and Explosive Arrow, which is an insane increased amount of damage, right? And then you follow that up with a direct hit Rain of Arrow. Now, you really want that direct hit Rain of Arrow to land because that is going to consume the Empower from the Explosive Arrow, and the bleed is also going to be empowered. So once again, you want to hit the Explosive Arrow. You don't even have to be direct hit. As long as you hit next to the enemy, you use Explosive Arrow, then Poison Arrow. Try not to do a direct hit with Poison Arrow, because if you do direct hit with a Poison Arrow, yes, Poison Arrow is going to be empowered, but you're going to consume the empower, and then Rain of Arrow is not going to be empowered. So what you do is you do Explosive Arrow, you get the empower, you do Poison Arrow next to the enemy, and that Poison Arrow is going to be empowered by the Explosive Arrow empower, but it won't be consumed. And then you finish it up with a Rain of Arrow. So you do a roll into an Explosive Arrow, right? Poison Arrow next to the target, Rain of Arrow on top of the target. Okay? That will be there for the maximum amount of damage for the bow dot build. Now, the other bow's abilities, they don't really have a combo that you can do. The only thing is just try to land the shots. The one thing that I recommend is remember that you can do a light attack and an ability for the bow for maximum damage, right? So instead of just using an ability, whenever you have it like that, you do a light attack into an ability, because just like every other weapon, you can animation cancel like the recovery time from the light attack with the follow-up ability. So it will go something like this. You're gonna do light attack into Poison Arrow, or light attack into Explosive Arrow, right? Or you can even do light attack into Rain of Arrow. So that is, always try to weave in a light attack before you do an ability. You can do that light attack into an evasion. You can do the light attack into a pen shot, or you can do light attack into 1 and 2, and then you can animation cancel that if the enemy's on your face, you know, and you don't want to, because the last hit of the triple Rapies has quite the animation lock, so it's gonna lock you in place. So always try to weave one light attack before the abilities for maximum bow damage, and I recommend that every single time. And that pretty much does it for the bow. Then the next one that we're going to be jumping into is going to be the Musket and the Blunderbuss. For the Musket, is going to be basically 2 combos. There's 2 ways that you can play the Musket. You can play the Musket from the long range, or you can play the Musket from the close range. If you're going to play the Musket close range, the abilities will look something like this. And the bread and butter combo for this, if you were able to hit the powder burn before you get close to the enemy, that is pretty cool, given that the musket is a ranged weapon. But if you didn't hit the powder burn because the enemy is on your face, then you're going to try to utilize the traps. And the combo, it will go something like this. You throw a trap at the enemy, then you throw a grenade into another trap, into a powder burn, roll basic attack, right? So that is going to be the best combo right there for the musket alone. Obviously, you can synergize that trap with other weapons like Blunderbuss or Ice Gauntlet or whatever you want to, you want to synergize it with. So usually whenever you shoot with a musket, even if you are charging an ability, you need to reload first and shoot. Well, the good thing about stopping power is that you can utilize it even if you don't have a bullet in the chamber. Meaning, look at this. You see, you can do a shot, a stopping power, and a stopping power will always be ready to go without even you having a bullet in the chamber. So this is why the combo for powder burn, rolled a stopping power into a power shot, or powder burn into a power shot into stopping power. So you can do it like this, a shot like that, right? You can powder burn, power shot, then the stopping power. Remember that you need to roll to reload the musket. And you can do that again, whichever way. You can do powder burn, stopping power, power shot. You can do powder burn, power shot, stopping power, right? So it will look something like this if you want to do it the other way, right? Which is an insane amount of damage. And this is a big combo that a lot of Void Gauntlet, PvP, or musket users utilize whenever they're trying to play maximum rat play style, right? From the distance, they roll, shoot, and then they do like the stopping power for 3 shots very, very fast that it will kill any light player and do massive amounts of damage. So, well, that pretty much does it for the musket. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the Blunderbuss. The Blunderbuss, you can play it realistically speaking 2 ways. You can play Shrine of Blast, Net Shot, and Blast Shot, or you can play Shrine of Blast, Net Shot, and Splitting Grenade. Shrine of Blast and Net Shot, they are staple when it comes to PvP. The 2 abilities that you will swap is Splitting Grenade or Blast Shot. If you are playing with Blast Shot, then the combo will be something like this. You're going to hit the enemy with a Blast Shot, then roll forward, basic attack, Shrapnel Blast, basic attack, Net Shot, out of danger. Now, the reason why we are weaving those basic attack is because, remember, like I said, you can animation cancel basic attacks with abilities. And on top of that, the Blunderbuss has this thing over here that it says the next shot fired within 6 seconds after triggering an ability, it has 8 pellets instead of 6, meaning that you're going to be doing 20% more damage, or I don't know, I don't do math in public, but you know what I mean. And the combo is gonna go something like this. You're gonna hit him with the Blast Shot, basic attack, Shrine of Blast, basic attack, Net Shot, all right? All of that came out super, super, super fast. If after you hit the enemy with a Blast Shot and the enemy is a little bit too far away from you, one thing that I recommend most of the time is do a roll forward as long as you stamp yourself out, all right? The thing about the Blunderbuss is always do that basic attack before ability, right? Basic attack before Net Shot, basic attack before Shrine of Blast. It's so freaking important that you keep that in mind, boys. That is going to be how you're going to have the maximum output damage for the Blunderbuss. Once again, if you're playing with Blast Shot, it's going to be Blast Shot, roll forward, basic attack, Shrine of Blast, basic attack, Net Shot, and then get back into a safe distance, swap your weapon to Faire Staff, Musket, whatever you're utilizing, and then keep pumping from a distance. Now, if you are going to play with the Splitting Grenade combo, it's pretty much the same, right? You're going to do like Splitting Grenades and basic attack, Shrine of Blast, basic attack, Net Shot. That basic attack, Shrine of Blast, basic attack, Net Shot, it is so important and incredibly good and incredibly powerful in pretty much every situation. Now, if you are fighting against a ranged player that is trying to run away, remember, just like the Hatchet, if you're moving forward and you use Net Shot, it won't push you backwards, right? So keep that in mind. So if you're chasing an enemy, make sure that you're pressing W whenever you are using the Net Shot. So again, for the Splitting Grenade combo, it will be something like Splitting Grenade, basic attack, Shrine of Blast, and basic attack, Net Shot. As you can see, not much changes. It's just that you're now using it with a Splitting Grenade instead. And like I said, that does it for the ranged weapons. Let's go ahead and talk now about the magical weapons. The first weapon that I want to talk about when it comes to the magical weapons is going to be the Faire Staff. For the Fire Staff, it doesn't really have that many combos either. The most important thing about the Fire Staff is also light attack weaving. Light attack into an ability, light attack into an ability, light attack into ability. It is incredibly fundamental and super important for the Fire Staff. This is one of the best ways that you're going to weave damage onto the enemy if the enemy is close to you. If the enemy is close to you, let's say that you're fighting like a Warhammer player, right? And they did a shockwave and you have the ability to dodge the shockwave. Now you have a room, like a window for you to do damage. So what do you do? Well, the majority of the people, what they do is they roll the shockwave and then they hit them with a fireball. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the good thing about it is that you can do a roll into a light attack, which is gonna get interrupted by an ability, and that is going to be seamless. It's going to be so fast that the enemy doesn't even know what hit him. So it's gonna be like roll light attack fireball, right? And the enemy is still pretty much recovering, and that light attack deals actually a pretty significant amount of damage. But if there was to be a combo, it will be the combo with Burnout, Pillar of Fire, and Fireball. I'm not even gonna pick everything else. So the way that this combo will go is you're going to start the fight with a Burnout. If you're able to hit the enemy 2 times with a Burnout, then you're going to apply some smolder into the enemy. If you crit them, you're even going to apply more burns into the enemy. Then you're gonna follow that up with a Fireball, Pillar of Fire. So that combo will look something like this. You're going to be doing a Burnout into a roll light attack Fireball into a light attack Pillar of Fire. Whenever you're doing this combo, you don't necessarily need to do the light attacks. Again, the light attack is something that I want you guys to like sort of like get used to it. You can do this combo perfectly fine without doing the light attack, especially if what you're aiming for is to do the combo and basically get out, right? The light attack, you will prioritize it if you are fighting face to face with an enemy, like a 1v1, right? Like he did an ability, you roll light attack Fireball. He did another ability, you roll light attack Pillar of Fire, right? But if you're jumping into a clump, you don't really want to do those light attacks because, as you guys know, light attack is slow the movement speed of your character tremendously. Look at that. So if you want to go in, do the maximum amount of damage and go out, then it will be something like a Burnout into a Fireball, Pillar of Fire, and then just get doodles, right? That way the Pillar of Fire deals the most amounts of damage, and since you burn the enemy with a Burnout, you're going to also be doing a 10% increased damage to them. So the Fireball deals 10% more damage, and therefore your Pillar of Fire is going to be doing even more damage. And well, that pretty much does it for the Fire Staff. Other than the light attack animation cancel with the abilities, the other combo is the Burnout into Fireball, Pillar of Fire. The next weapon we're going to be talking about is going to be that, I mean, should I even talk about Life Staff? I don't think there's really any combo when it comes to Life Staff, right? You can just fucking throw your abilities and go. The one thing that I recommend everybody is to always utilize Sacred Ground before you do all of your healing dump, because while allies are in Sacred Ground, they gain 50% increased healing from non-consumables and Life Staff healing sources, meaning if they're using like Mending Vortex, or if you are going to heal the allies that are on top of the Sacred Ground, when then your heals are going to be empowered by 50%. And not just your allies, that's also yourself. So yeah, and the same thing you can do with the Life Staff is you can do light attacks into beacons, light attacks into aura protection, just like you can do with like a Fire Staff or basically any other weapon. And what I mean by that, it will look something like this, like light attack, you know, orb, light attack, beacon. And that is if you're trying to do maximum amounts of damage, or if you're trying to do the maximum amounts of healing into a clump of players, like you know, your allies, since your light attacks reduce your cooldowns of the Life Staff, and your light attack also heal your allies, you can do that light attack into an orb, and you can see how fast that is. It's almost instant, and boom, you'd hit the enemy 2 times, or you heal your ally 2 times. Now let's go ahead and talk about the 2 gauntlets. We're going to be talking about the Void Gauntlet first, and then we'll jump into the Ice Gauntlet. For the Void Gauntlet, there are several combos. Excuse me. For the Void Gauntlet, there's really one big combo. The other combos is just, you know, just using your abilities whenever you are full cooldown. If you are a war or like a big clumper Void Gauntlet and you're using like Oblivion, Scream, and Orb of Decay, right? You will ideally want to use your Oblivion or your Scream before you use your Orb of Decay, because Orb of Decay is going to be the best way for you to get all of your cooldowns back Whenever, you know, you have a refreshing frailty over here, and you also have refreshing precision, which whenever you crit the enemy or whenever you hit enemies that have 3 or more debuff on them, you get a lot of cooldowns back. So like I said, you want to use your Scream and your Oblivions or your Tethers before you use your Orb of Decay. That way you can get the best out of it. A lot of times you use your Scream and your Oblivion and then you use Orb of Decay, and you get so much cooldown back that you can use another Putrefying Scream and another Oblivion and another Orb of Decay. Now, whenever we're not talking about clumps or clumps in general, you can even do this in clump. You can do this against anybody. It will be utilizing this thing right here that is called Glimpse of the Void. Now, Glimpse of the Void says you get a stack of Void Essence per successful ability hit, and then a 4 stacks or more, your next heavy attack will reset all your Void Gauntlet cooldown. Meaning that if you use your Orb of Decay, your Tether, your Scream, and you got those 4 stacks, then you can hit the enemy with a heavy attack, and you can do that entire combo back. And I will tell you right now, I have been doing this for a very long time whenever I used to play Void Gauntlet, and the Void Gauntlet alone can kill any light player in the game if you are able to get those 4 stacks. And what I mean by this is you're gonna use your Orb of Decay, your Tether, your Scream, your heavy attack into another Orb of Decay, into another Scream, into another Tether, whichever way you want to use it. If you don't want to spend your Scream and your Tether right away because probably the enemy still has the disease on them, or probably the enemy still has the Tether on top of them, then you can hold on to it, because remember that Glimpse of the Void does have a 15-second cooldown, so you know you can hold on to them for a little bit longer. But if you are able to do that combo, you know, and if you want to like really burst the enemy, then yeah, go for it and hit them with the full combo, something like this, right? And oh my god, that combo right there for the Void Gauntlet is amazing. Believe me, if you are successfully able to pull this combo very often, you will have nothing but success with your Void Gauntlet X combo, right? So if you do hit the enemy, you see you have 10 seconds for you to get those 4 stacks, right? And then the good thing about it is that it resets, right? So if it was at 1 second before the stack went away, you can reset it and you can play around that. So don't dump all of your abilities back to back, especially if you're playing with a Glimpse of the Void, unless you were lucky enough or good enough to get all 4 hits to send, you know, all 3 abilities back to back. And then the last weapon that we have is going to be the Ice Gauntlet. Now, the Ice Gauntlet has several combos that you can do, especially if you are wearing the cooldown reduction chest piece. Let me see if I have it here. I don't think I did. I think I put every single one of my other artifacts away, but here we go. So the thing about the Ice Gauntlet is that it has this passive right here called Refreshing Frost. Refreshing Frost, it says, reduce the ability of all your Ice Gauntlet cooldowns by 15% when you're casting an ability on a frosted area. So whenever you combine that with 4 refreshing, right, with 4 refreshing over here, and the cooldown reduction chest piece, which is the nimble coat, and then you also combine them with 50 focus, with 25 focus, you can do some insane ability spams, right? Depending whichever abilities you're using with. One ability that is always going to be staple for the Ice Gauntlet is going to be Ice Storm. So you can do Ice Storm. No, stop. Take it. All right. So if we are using, second. Oh god, I'm gonna get killed. I swear I'm gonna get killed. Dude, I'm about to get killed here. I feel it. Thank you. Thank you. Anyways, there's going to be a staple ability that is always going to be the Ice Storm, all right? You can play Ice Storm, Entomb, Ice Shower if you want to play like super defensive. You can play Ice Storm, Ice Spike, and Windshield if you want to go full offensive. You can also go Ice Storm, Ice Spike, and Entomb if you want to have a good mix of survivability and defenses. But what I mean by having Refreshing Frost and insane amount of cooldown is that you can do things like this, and I will show you now. So we're gonna be using the Ice Storm first, so you get, you're on top of the frosted area. So Ice Storm into an Ice Spike into a Windshield, and look at the cooldowns of our abilities, right? They are super reduced. The Ice Storm the Ice Storm, if we use Ice Storm, Ice Spike, and Wind Shield, you see that that Ice Storm is already down into barely anything right here. So we can use it again. And, you know, you can try to weave. The reason why I cannot spam the abilities as well as you could is because I'm not using the Nimble code, which it reduces the cooldown even further. So yes, if you're going to get the best out of the Ice Gauntlet, then try to be utilizing the I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted with how many purples out there. I feel terrified. Anyways, if you are going to utilize it with the Entomb, then it will be something like this, right? This is how the combo will go for the Entomb. You will utilize a Storm into an Ice Spike into an Entomb, right? And you can see how the cooldowns of our abilities pretty much came back super fast and super quick. And yes, always try to use your ice abilities on top of another ice ability. And the good thing is that you can synergize this very well with other Ice Gauntlet. It doesn't have to be your own ice. It could be any other Ice Gauntlet, right? Again, it doesn't have to be yours. So you can do this thing, you can do this thing, and I knew I'm dead. I'm dead. You know what? I'm done with the video, boys. You guys will never catch me alive. I'm out of here. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Remember that we stream pretty much every single day, and I'll catch you guys the next time. That was pretty much the bread and butter for every single one of the weapons right there. Remember the naval weapons like the sword and shield, warhammer, and stuff, right? You can do like a shockwave, then swap to a blunderbuss and hit it with a shrapnel blast, or hit him with a blast shot, basic attack, shrapnel blast. But anyway, that is pretty much common sense. Every weapon that has a stun, you can follow that up with. Okay, that's it. I'm out. I love you guys. Peace.